Alrighty, ladies and gents, this is Brian again. We're gonna go ahead and finish up the video on Ichi. This is the last one in the series, and it's been about 2 weeks since I put out the entire Ichi series. I wanted to wait a little bit and get some of the questions coming in about Ichi. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover those first, and then I will get into basically the last part of it is going to show entry and exit for FX or for bins on the 30-minute trend trades. And some of the things, the questions are going to kind of show some of the things you want to look for to avoid getting into a crap trade. So the first one I had is, what am I looking for an entry? I'll be reviewing a little bit as we do this, but if we look at this chart here, this is USD JPY. Had a freaking heavy ass trend, but how would you know when to get into it? The crossover that we'd look for was right here. And if we remember, the white line's Casper, blue line's Timmy, purple is Mr. Krabs. The blue line is the faster moving one, the purple is a little bit slower, and this white line basically is always 22, 26, depends on your settings, behind. If we look, here's the candle, and it is back here. Okay, so for this trade, so what we'd be looking at is we did have our crossover. This is a low probability, as there's low, if you're looking to take a downward trade or a put, if the crossover occurs above the cloud, it's low probability. If it occurs in the cloud, it's medium, and if it occurs below the cloud, then we have a high probability trade. So this was a low probability trade. We would not have gotten in at the crossover. If we look back, Casper had not broken through price here. We need Casper to break through price before we could get in. So the entry would have been down here. Now, the comments I was getting is a few people said is, yes, they got into the trades, but then it immediately reversed on them. So what do you want to look at so you don't... And again, this isn't going to be 100%, but it's some of the things you want to look at to get a higher probability trade. When the crossover occurs, what you want to look at is the purple line. Which way is it angled? Sometimes you'll get the crossover, like this one right here. We had a low probability. It crossed over. But if we look at the purple line, it was kind of flat. Now, what the purple line is telling you, the blue line is faster moving, so it is going to move with price more accurately. The purple line's a medium speed one, so it's not. But what it does tell you is momentum of the price in that direction. So what you want to avoid is when there's a crossover, blue might look nice going up. Timmy might be running his ass off up, which we could see it following, but it wasn't a big move. Purple was kind of flat. Whenever you see Mr. Krabs or the purple one flat, I would wait it out. I would not jump into that trade, because let's say you get in at the crossover, which was right here. We waited for the candle to close, so our entry would have been here. If we count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30... not a great trade. I mean, we would have... It pulled back to purple. When purple is flat, think of it kind of like as a magnet, and it will pull price back to it. So not a good trade, because we would have been, at best, a very, very close ITM, but most likely we had an OTM or an ATM there at the money, or a loss. So really what you want to look at there is get in when the purple line has a nice momentum downwards or upwards with the direction you're looking to trade. Flat, bad; angled, good, because it's showing we have momentum. Think of it as a snowball rolling down a hill. We really want to make sure that that snowball is going to keep going. If it's flat, or we have a slight angle, it might roll and then it goes flat and it stalls out and we lose that momentum and we're in a bad trade all of a sudden. So if we look here, purple was flat when the crossover occurred. We didn't have entry yet. By the time entry comes down here, which would have been price comes through the cloud, that one there was the close. So the next candle we look at, see how we have a sharp downward angle on the purple all the way down? That's what you're looking for when you want to get into a 30-minute trade. You don't want to have it on the flat. If it's flat, it stalls out. We get a pullback to purple. Remember, purple acts kind of as a magnet to price. The farther away price is from purple, the likely it is to pull back to it. And if you look here, it just rides nice. It never pulls too far away from the purple. We didn't have any price spikes. It would have been a nice, easy 30-minute trade, and you would have gotten a nice ITM. So hopefully that answers the question on what you're looking for when you get into a trade. That was some of the things that was the most common question I got. The other ones were just basic setup questions. Also, how do you know when it's trending or ranging? So we have a perfect picture here of a trend. Ranging, you can tell because price is going to be constantly moving back and forth through the cloud. We want price to be like this. This is your ideal setup here. We want price out of the cloud and below it. This whole junk here, yes, we had a nice move upward, a nice move downward, but it's all in the cloud. So it went up, down, up, down, up, down. We have a smaller range forming there, but we had a big range, up, and see how it gets smaller as the range goes in and out of the cloud. So this is a no trade time. For me, this is when I would trade reversals on this chart. For me, here is when I would be trading a trend, 30-minute trend trade. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I know what there was. Now, the question that I wanted to cover through here, again, we want to see how much room this thing has, and how do we determine that? I mix a little bit of Fibonacci up. I have done a whole series on Fibonacci, so if you don't understand what I'm about to show you, go ahead and pause this, jump in, and there's a whole series on Fibonacci. But what I look at, wrong way. God, I'm an idiot. Let me delete that. What I do is I draw a Fibonacci line on the chart because I'm expecting a downward move at this crossover. So I go back, I draw a Fibonacci line. Now what I'm looking for is price went up and down. These numbers are a little small, but I'll try and highlight what I'm looking at here. Okay, so on this is the 100% level. This is the 0% level. And we have 61.8 right here when price came out. When price came out of this cloud, it hit 61.8. That is a definite point of reversal or consolidation. It's where if price wasn't going to trend down, it would have probably bogged out there, sometimes at 50%, 50, 61.8. So what I did is I combined a little bit of Fibonacci common sense with the Ichi setup. So what I'm looking for, price came down and broke. So now I know I got a nice trade on my hands. What the next step is once it breaks clear of the cloud, Casper's good, and I have my price going down. Timmy's angled nicely down, and Mr. Krabs, the purple line, we got a nice angle down too. So how do I know? On a 30-minute trade, we have nothing here to stop it. So what I'm looking for is on a 30-minute trade, what's my next level of resistance? 100 would be the first one, 161 would be the second one. So 5, 10, 15, that one would have been a close one. As you can see, it did consolidate a little bit on the 100 line, but it did break through it, and it went down to 161. It consolidated again and moved up. Now, for a binary options trade, I would have taken it because 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Once it broke through here, I know it's going to head down, and it's either going to consolidate and head back up at that point. I'm not seeing any crazy candles. This whole pattern here, since I got the crossover, I don't see any large spikes or anything. So I know even if it does pull back a little bit, I'm not going to get a huge pullback or crazy candle. I'm going to get a nice even flow back up. So I have time for the price to drop, hit this. It'll normally consolidate a little bit, and then if it is going to move up, it's going to move up. But we're getting nice small candles. So even if it came back up to here, we're still in the clear for the trade. Take candle size into consideration. If you're seeing huge candles, say, well, if I got 5 of those huge candles in a row, would that bring price back up if price reverses with the same size candles? So that way you can judge how much room you have for that trade to come through successfully. If you got big candles and you can pinpoint a support or resist point, then you know, hey, that's a dangerous trade to get into. So this trade, for me, when I got into it on this candle, and I let it ride down to here when it hit 161. As soon as it hit 161, I was out of the trade. Pretty simple. Hopefully that will explain a little bit more on how to get in and out of the trades. We're going to look at another chart here, because sometimes you don't have these just clear, crystal, perfect little setups like this. And we're going to see how else we can judge support and resist to help you figure out if you have enough time to get into a 30-minute trade or if you don't. Let me flip through the charts real quick, see what we can find. Here's an excellent example of ranging. You can see it's just a freaking mess. I mean, you can't tell what the hell's going on there. We got a ranging market. If we look, price goes up, down, down, and consolidates out. So it's kind of crap. But let's take a look again here. We have the crossover happens right here, and downward. Now, this is what I was talking about. We had nice size candles, but then we got a big spike one, little. So let's take a look at the trade. This would have been a medium probability as the crossover occurred slightly above but in the cloud. So I would consider it medium because it stayed together all the way into the cloud and then it spread out. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to wait on Casper to drop through below price and through the cloud. Very little resist there. If you notice, the cloud is very thin. So we would wait for it to come through. Now, what do we wait on? We wait on the candle to close that broke through the when Casper broke through the cloud. That would have been this candle. So now what we want to check is what's our next level of support and resist? What can stop price from dropping? And if we look back right here, we have a nice consolidation on the bottom of this cloud. So let me draw a line on here so we can kind of see what I would be looking at. Okay, so that's where price consolidated out previously. This was our candle for close for entry, so we would have had, based on these candle sizes, we kind of had a mixture. So this one here, I had to think about quite a bit on it actually. If we measure it, I got 17.4. The way I measured that was I hit Control F to bring up my crosshairs. So I know that movement was 17.4 from about when the crossover occurred. So I go to my candle here, and if I measure down to about 17.4, this is what I'm looking at. And that brings it down to about here, so I'd want to have about that much room. This one would have been a judgment call on your part if you know price action and no support and resist levels. This is a pretty good consolidation, but here's what we look at. Support and resist. How strong was it? This is a very thin cloud. So as I look at this, I would say yes, that is a good trade to get into because the cloud's very thin. Most likely price is going to be able to push through it. Now, if I would have looked back here and seen a big-ass fat cloud, I would have stayed out of that trade because I know price is probably going to hit here and bounce up. Tiny little cloud, very little support and resistance for us to worry about. So that's how you use the previous portion of the cloud and the future portion of the cloud. So previous portion of the cloud gives us good 30-minute trend trade down. Let's get in that bitch. Let's look forward. We've crossed over, and the cloud is heading sharply down also by this point. I mean, if you look, this is the candle we've looked at, so we would have seen from here to here, we have a sharply forming cloud down. Excellent trade to get into. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit too on making a judgment call of when to get into a trade and when not to. Let's take a look at a couple more, see if we can find anything. This one, we had the crossover occur. It was above the cloud, but there's barely any cloud there. But if we look, what's our angle here? The purple line is what I'm looking at. Timmy sharp spikely down through that crossover. Mr. Krabs, the purple line is flat. Danger. We don't want to get into that because price is most likely going to pull back to it. Remember, when it's flat, it kind of acts as a magnet. So price is going to go down and come back up. It did act as a magnet. We get another crossover, which says it's going to go up. We can ignore it, and another crossover for down. So now if we finally look at this thing, if you waited it out, then you would have a good setup here. But we still have a flat purple line, so we'd want to wait. You might want to get in here. You might be tempted to. But if we look back, right here where we finally get that good angle, Casper hasn't broken through price yet, so we're still in a holding period. If Casper breaks out here, still in a holding period, it's flat. Now, you wouldn't know it, but we got the big spikes down. So if you had jumped in the trade 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, you just would have been surprised that you got an excellent trade because price dropped like a rock. But if we stick to the rules of the system, Casper was hugging price or in price whenever we got a crossover, so we did not actually have a valid entry till this I can't talk, till this candle. That was our all clear signal to finally get in. So be patient, use the cloud, use the rules, stick to them, then get into your trades. If you're patient and you wait, it'll be good. Remember, purple flat, bad, purple angle down, good. Even though this here, it flattened out. But during this whole candle period, if you look at the angles, everything's set up for us so that we did have a good trade in progress. If y'all have any more questions on Ichi, please hit me up. Everyone's been hitting me up on Skype. I don't mind. I've had people say, I'm so sorry to bug you. Guys, it's your money. If you want to lose it, don't ask questions. Make sure to hit me up if you have any questions. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is the final one on Ichi. If you want to post your trades up on the forum, ask questions, feel free to do that too. Few of you have been sending me your trades. I don't mind that either. So I enjoy helping out. So I hope you have a great day and enjoyed the video.